Good evening, everybody. My name is Tony Economou, District 1 City Councilor. Call the meeting of our Public Works Subcommittee to order this evening. To my left is Councilor Sachin Mitra. To his left is our Commissioner of Public Works, Commissioner Westerling. And to my right, your left, is our engineer, Mr. Mello. So thanks for being here this evening, gentlemen. We'll kind of go through the items, maybe a little bit out of order, so we can get to discussion with National Grid and the Eversource. Excuse me, ma'am, are you here for an item, or are you here for an item, or are you here with the utility company, or are you here for anything specific?
I'm here because I was summoned, I have a letter.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do you want to go through 1A, Mr. Clerk, or do you want me to?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. 1A, pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and in order to ensure active public engagement, the City of Worcester currently allows for both in-person and remote participation at all of its meetings. To partake in the meeting, you can either join in person or you can join via Zoom. The link to the Zoom is listed on the Granicus portal of the city's website. There's also a phone number, which is 1-646-828-7666. The access code tonight is 161-599-2759. We do ask if you're on the Zoom platform, you use the raise hand function if an item that you'd like to speak on comes up. The raise hand button is in the bottom center of the application, and if you're on a phone, you dial *9. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, item number 2. 2A, order that the City Council Standing Committee of Public Works hereby approves the minutes of the Public Works Committee meeting on January 27th, 2026. All those in favor? Do I need excuse me, Mr. Clerk, do I need a roll call vote?
Mr. Chairman, you do not. You can do that on a voice vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you. All right, number 3A, install sewer item. A report of the planning board upon the petition of Curtis Alexander requests installation of sewer drains on Nixon Ave in the vicinity of 11 Nixon Ave. Is anybody here on that? Hearing none.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So our recommendation is leave to withdraw, and that is because Nixon Ave, a number of years back, was petitioned and approved for private street conversion. So this was budgeted in the FY27 budget by DPW, so the road is actually already in, the process for addressing this is already underway.
Okay, so we're all set with that, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Councilors, anything on that? No. Motion would be to recommend leave to withdraw. So, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Let's go. The other item that we had, Mr. Clerk, was 6A. Was that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
So we're going to take 6A first, then we're going to go to 7C and 7D. We're going to take those out of order as people are here and on the line for it. So, item 6A. This is in regards to guardrail and protective barrier petitions. Franco Girardi and Giuseppe Girardi request installation of a 100-foot guardrail at the dead-end section of Pilgrim Ave with no gaps where the guardrail is installed to ensure vehicles cannot drive through the barrier. I believe the petitioner is on the line, or somebody in regards to 6A?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I just sent a request for the petitioner to unmute.
Very good.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So the original petition says, I put in to remove the existing ineffective guardrails and install a solid guardrail from one end of the white fence, which is approximately 100 feet, to ensure that vehicles do not drive through, motorized vehicles don't drive through, and to put proper signage on the guardrail, because this is a dead-end street, and we get people coming down at a high rate of speed to try to come through here. I have two disabled parents that we have a handicap parking that is adjacent to our property. They're scared to cross the street because of the dirt bikes and scooters and everything else that comes flying up and down this dead-end street. We ask that for the safety of people and themselves to install a solid guardrail from one end to the other with no gaps to ensure that no vehicles can travel. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Is anybody else on the line in regards to this item in favor or opposed? Mr. Clerk?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Is anybody here in the audience for the item? Hearing none. Councilors, do you have any questions on this?
Just a quick question. Pilgrim Ave, as I know it, and where they're talking about it dead ends, it abuts Our Lady of Loretto Parish. So any way that we could make sure that a vehicle couldn't come down Pilgrim Ave and try to get into the church parking lot, I would obviously support, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner, Mr. Mello?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when we took a look at this particular item, when we hear requests for guardrails and things of that, like it's often, it's generally to prevent accidents and not necessarily access. So that's how we approach this, but listening to the petitioner and kind of understanding what direction they were actually looking to take this, you know, I could kind of opine a little bit more. So the particular configuration that's out there right now is a guardrail behind, let's call it the east side of the road, and there's a number of large trees, and then there is an opening, a paved opening, approximately 8 feet wide or so, with some fence behind that on the church side, and then some physical concrete bollards, and then on the other side of that 8-foot paved way, there's additional guardrail and fence behind it. So as presently configured, a four-wheeled vehicle would not be able to make it through here. You know, if they were traveling at a high rate of speed or something like that, you know, but at that point, you know, almost any vehicle barrier would be ineffective, right? Except for like something like a wall. This seems more of a concern with two-wheeled vehicles, which are very, very difficult to police, unfortunately. In order to prevent that two-wheel vehicles from cutting through, you'd have to erect a full-size fence. You know, and that would have to tie into any other sort of fence in the area, either on the church or adjacent property. So, you know, this isn't really an appropriate place for a guardrail or a bollard if that's what we're looking to accomplish.
So again, I'm trying to go by memory of what that location looks like. I got it there. So I understand what the petitioner has to say on that too. Are you able to see that? It's just got a better, Is there access through that point there, other than walking access?
No, and that's the end of the public way as well.
So how about to the far, when I'm looking at this here, to the far right, there's a fence.
Mm-hmm.
Is there access through that fence and the guardrail there?
No, there should not be. So that's, you know, effectively the end of the
Yeah, I know.
traveled way.
You're right, this is the end of the road. Is the petitioner still with us?
Yes, can I say something?
Yes, you may.
So I disagree with the no's. I've lived on the street for a long time. There's absolutely ways that you can access those areas. You see what kind of condition that's in. And I'm talking about if you're coming down the street and you're unfamiliar with the area, you cannot see anything other than an opening, and cars come slamming their brakes down at the end. So it's the way it looks like when you're coming down the street unfamiliar to the area. I know it's a dead end. There's a lot of people that don't. And there is ways in between those trees and those old concrete pillars that you can absolutely wiggle a car in there. It's happened. It continues to happen now that the snow is gone. It happened the other day. And I ask that you put something there for the safety of the people on the road and for the people coming down the road, which would be approximately 100-foot guardrail from that white fence to the white fence with no opening, with signage on it, reflectors, or some type of diamond-shaped indicator that street is ending there and you cannot access it. There has been instances in the past where vehicles have crashed through this area. There has been police chases where cars have come flying down this. There's a history here. This is not something that we're pulling out of the blue. It is a long-going safety issue, and we ask that the city will take some type of management to properly.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Commissioner, you had something?
Mr. Chairman, I defer to Mr. Mello on the appropriateness of a guardrail there, but we can certainly, at the intersection of Pilgrim and Grafton, we can put up not a through street signs on either side, and at the end, we can put some sort of, within the right-of-way, some sort of signage with an X on it or something like that, just to indicate that it's not a through street and that you're coming to a dead end.
So a dead-end street means no motorized vehicles, correct?
I think it just means the street dead ends.
Okay, so dirt bikes can come flying up and down the street at high rates of speed? Through here? Through that, what you're looking at? And cause a safety concern for people crossing the street, particularly my parents? I'm confused. So
let
you
me
think that
excuse
looks
me.
safe down there? Go ahead.
Excuse
Go
me.
ahead.
Is that your concern, motorcycles coming up and down the street?
Yes, the way I worded the original petition was for motorized vehicles like dirt bikes, with no gaps.
Yeah.
The way it's set up now is just, there is a dead end sign at the top of the street already. There's people go up one ways, people go down one ways. I don't think signs are going to be enough. I think something needs to be done there as far as closing it from one end to the other to stop the access.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hold the item. I'd like to get a set of eyes on it myself too, just so I can see it. I see the pictures. Thank you, Mr. Mello, for the pictures. I just want to take a look at it myself too with the district counselor to see what we can do. If there is anything more we can do, but I don't want to misguide you. I'd prefer to look at it closer then, if that's a big concern of yours in that location and the signage that is currently present, if that's not addressing the situation as well. So my motion would be to hold item 6A. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. So I'll do my best to look at that in the next, in the next few days, and hopefully we can get it back on the agenda for our next meeting. Okay? All right. Okay, we'll go to number 7, streetlight petitions, number 7C. Cora Butler Jones requests installation of a streetlight at the end of Stockholm Street. Is the petitioner here? Do you have anything you wish to add to that? If you'd like, you may come right to the microphone right here.
Just a mic that works.
Yes. Just your name and
My
name.
name is Dr. Cora Butler Jones. I've been a resident at that house that I live in since 1985. We've seen a lot. We've had a crack house right there on Tapman in Stockholm that I was assisting the city in closing. It was in fact a sober living home, and the owners vacated and left it unattended, so it took the residents some time to figure out what to do. They came knocking on my door. I followed judicious process and got the situation arrested. Additionally, right now, at the corner of Stockholm and Whipple, you have a danger trap. It looks like a well covered over with meadow, surrounded by caution lights, and right across the street from that is a man who has a huge flatbed that he parks on the street loaded with cars. It's a death trap. We're on a hill that goes right into a hill. I don't know how well you know Worcester, but that street goes right into a steep hill. So if you're coming up that hill to make that left turn on Stockholm Street, you're going around the death trap into the truck. And if someone's coming down Stockholm, it's a scary situation, to say the least. Now, what I'm proposing, so that at night I don't die, is that you put a street light there so that my 1,500 lumens light on my barn doesn't have to get larger and more and have more light to light up that end of the street. I'm lighting up my end as it is, and I've had police come knocking on my door because I have security around my house. I take care of my property, and I spend a lot of money doing it, and there's not enough lighting. And when you build traps like this, at either end of the street, there's a problem. I have a picture where a Mack truck took out the stop sign several times on Tapman in Stockholm. I'm sure you have reports on it, because I'm a practitioner. I do virtual therapeutic process with people from all over. I'm home a lot, and these guys come down that street in those 8-wheelers to make that left turn on Tapman, and they take out the stop sign because they have to back up because they can't make the turn. And I can't tell you how many times. I have a picture of the down stop sign, if you'd like to look at it.
No, I'm just going to make a note of what you're
So the problem that I have is at
saying.
night, the situation gets more alarming. And I have little kids coming in. My daughter's a lawyer, and she comes to visit me with my grandkids. I don't want them in a death trap, obviously. So I would like the city to entertain the fact that we're living in a situation where my neighbors now, who had porch lights on, are relying on my 1,500 lumen light that's on my barn. And I don't want to be paying a light bill to supply the city. I already overpaid my taxes in 2011, check the bill.
So let me just ask you while you're there, when I'm looking at a map, where are you in
I'm at
relation
19, I'm about less than a block from that corner of Tapman in
in
Stockholm.
Stockholm?
My property is huge, so it goes right into almost
Are you up by Cornhill or,
Cornhill to Tapman is about my property size.
okay,
So I have a pretty large frontage where folks like to park their vehicles when they're doing work on
sure.
on the sidewalks and whatnot as well. But I'm more concerned about the lighting, because all of the city work that you do requires lighting when you leave it unattended at night.
Okay. So let me ask you I'm going to bring item 7D into the conversation too. Cora Butler Jones requests installation of a street light on Tapman Street. Are these related to each other or
the
two separate items?
Tapman and Stockholm intersect. So
Yep.
I'm really looking for lighting in the middle of Stockholm, sorry. Tapman has a bent light that a truck hit on it. But
Okay.
we need one on Stockholm Street because there's nothing. I went out and checked today
Okay.
just to make sure. And there's very limited to nothing on Stockholm. And over the years, I've been there since '84, things have changed.
Yep.
You know, you got stuff happening there that wasn't happening before. I have cameras all the way around my house except one side, and that's happening this spring.
Okay.
So the police are coming knocking on my door and not getting the assistance they want, because if I got to pay for all this stuff, I'm not so inclined to want to be generous.
Councilor Frizzolo.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to our DPW crew here. a street light is quite an expense. Is there a street light close by where we could put up a portable, some type of spotlight on that and point it toward the
There are
area she's
poles,
talking about?
and there's a bent street light right on the corner of Tapman and Stockholm.
Right.
But if I went and bought a 1,500 lumens light to put in the middle to light up my end, when I get out of my car, which is in my man-made driveway on my property, when I get out of my car, I'm walking almost a block to my door in pitch blackness without that light. And I have to rely on my neighbor's porch lights being on or off, and I'm self-reliant.
Okay.
That's how I'm made. So do it or don't do it, but you need to know it's a serious problem when trucks are taking out stop signs and you got a guy at the other end of the street parking a flatbed with cars on it across from a demolition streetway.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I know the area well.
Good.
I've walked
Great.
Stockholm and
Good job.
Crown
Good.
Hill and Tapman
Perfect. So
quite a few
you're
times
familiar. I don't have to show you
this past election season, so I know it well. And plus, I was the state rep for 15 years there, so again, I know it well. I'm trying to help you, ma'am.
Yes.
A street light is an expense, and it could take a while before you see one there. My point to the DPW commissioner and assistant commissioner, could you give me an answer to that? Is there another option? Can we do something with a pole that's there? And
Can I do a friendly amendment to what you're saying? There are street poles that maybe belong to National Grid or one of the other companies in between Tapman and Whipple. So maybe on one of those middle poles, you
well,
could
we
attach
own
a light.
all the poles, right?
So
we
let's,
own our own
let
poles.
me
Maybe the
speak to
light
the
could.
commissioner and the assistant commissioner here first to get their thoughts and opinions here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we had our lighting team take a look at both Stockholm and Tapman Streets, and they recommended both for new streetlights. The pole number 8 on Stockholm, which is located roughly in the vicinity of Tapman, was recommended for a pole as streetlight rather, as was pole 16 on Tapman. As has been pointed out, there is existing poles in the area, which significantly reduces the cost involved in installing a light. So where if we had to install a new pole and run conduit, this would be a significant expense. We're lucky in so much as the poles exist. So these are roughly about $1,500 in installation.
So are there lights scheduled to be installed there, you said?
No, there are none
there
scheduled
are
to be
lights
installed,
there
but
currently.
there are poles in place. We recommend installation of the light if that's the will of the committee, and if that is the will of the committee, those lights will run about $1,500 a piece.
Okay. So with that, what kind of timeline would you be looking at?
I couldn't tell you offhand. If you want a rough approximation, probably a few months. Especially at this time of the year where we have a little bit of a backlog from winter. It might take the contractor a bit to get out there, but by midsummer, early summer, something along those lines, I can get back to you with an exact time.
Okay. So do you have anything to add, Commissioner? Counselor?
Step through you to engineer Mello. I just
Very good. There you go.
you said that it's going to take few months to install the light, but you are in favor of installing the light.
Yes, correct. And I'm kind of guessing at the moment. This could be as quick as a few weeks, but I'd have to get an exact ETA from the lighting vendor. And with the start of construction season about a week away, they have a little bit of a backlog they have to address for us. So
So, and you kept saying that's $1,500 cost of installing it?
correct. So as a rough breakdown, a new head is about $650. A bucket truck's about $155. Working with our friends over at National Grid, it's about $145 to connect the light, and then we have a $500 charge for a detail.
And it will be close to the house of the resident?
No, this is at cost of the city.
No, at the
Location-wise.
Oh, yes, yes,
location
yes.
of the light.
So this light, the one on Stockholm Street, is actually exactly in the vicinity the resident was looking for. And Tapman Street was in the vicinity of on pole 16, which is what our lighting expert recommended.
And it's
Okay.
leaning right now, kind of to the left. Can I just
There's
add
no,
in terms
there's no
of...
charge for the lien.
Thank you. So I just want to say that in 2011, I overpaid my taxes by double. The city thought there was a building on my property that wasn't there, and when I attempted to get the money back, I was unsuccessful. It was $2,500. That would cover the cost if you reach back. I
Yeah,
don't know
just
how you invest the city's money,
I'm
but
sure that money is long gone.
but we did overpay in that year, and your clerk confirmed that for me before I came.
Good, good. I'm sorry you overpaid for
It happens.
it. So the motion would be to install a street light on Stockholm Street and on Tatman Road as suggested by Mr. Mello.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else on the line, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, it does look like we have one other person on the line. It's a phone number. The phone number ends in 0174. I just
Okay.
sent a request to unmute. If they could just clarify the item that they're here for. Again, to unmute, you would dial *9. And Mr. Chairman, I'm not immediately seeing the person being able to unmute themselves.
All right. So let's do this. Let's try to get as much as we can get through by quarter of six. Item number 4, fire hydrant petitions. 4A, Curtis Alexander requests a fire hydrant at 11 Nixon Ave be moved further away from the driveway of the property. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we recommend leave to withdraw on this particular item. So the water line on Nixon Ave is a dead end. It does not loop. You have to have a hydrant in place at the end of a dead end water main in order to flush it. If not, it would cause tuberculation in the line, the buildup of the trihalomethylenes, which are actually a carcinogen. So we have to have that hydrant there. There's nowhere else to put it.
So you're saying the hydrant is at the end of the line? period.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Anything else from anybody?
No.
The motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 5, ADA mat and ramp petition. 5A, Councilor Tel Haksha, on behalf of Jeffrey Mack, requests installation of an ADA-compliant curb ramp on Hurd Street across from its intersection with Waterman Street. Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we recommend this item be reassigned to traffic and parking. I spoke with Commissioner Raleigh about this today, and this item is actually traditionally handled by those folks. So he said just to pass it along to them.
Very good. Motion would be to reassign to traffic and parking. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 5B, Megan Young requests, this is in regards to guardrail protective barrier petitions. Item 6B, Megan Young requests the installation of a guardrail in front of 19 Westminster Street. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our recommendation is leave to withdraw. This petition was previously heard at an earlier meeting. We recommended the installation of bollards, and those have been installed.
All right. Any other comment on these? Motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Very good. 6C, Councilor Jose A. Rivera, on behalf of N. Paul Tondat, requests installation of a protective road barrier such as a concrete bollard post in front of 149 Belmont Street to protect the property from motorized vehicle collisions. Commissioner?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. So we took a look at this location, and the homes along Belmont Street are all spaced approximately the same distance off the curb line. So, really looking at one at this particular location would be informative about, many up and down the street. With the distance that exists from the back of curb to the front of the homes, it's very difficult to install a protective barrier without decreasing the accessible way to such a point that we'd be skirting our regulatory obligations. Aside that, for a strike of this nature, what we would consider is a bollard or a guardrail, and we would do that based off of crash history. That would be the only warrant that would be able to be satisfied in this area, just due to the proximity of the homes. Behind the guardrail, all of the homes lie within what we call the clear zone, so that would be the area that a car would be able to recover if they were off the curb. So that's just the entirety of Belmont Street. Over the last 5 years, although there have been instances of vehicular accidents in front of this location, there have been no instances where a vehicle has left the road or struck a structure. So at that point, if we had a number of those that have occurred over a short period of time, we would recommend a bollard or a guardrail, but without that occurring, and the uniformity of structures at a similar distance up and down the road is our recommendation to not install anything.
Councilors, anybody? Okay, you answered my question. My question was going to be about if we had data on accidents into the property or off the road, and you answered that question. Okay, motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 7, streetlight petitions. Patrick Grady requests streetlight on the pole at 17, I'm going to assume on pole 17 be repaired on West Boylston Street. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we recommend leave to withdraw. This item has already been passed through 311 and it's worked our way into the work order system, and it's in queue for repair.
So it's in the queue for repair.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. Motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 7B, Patricia Barassa requests installation of a streetlight at the intersection of Abdullah Drive and Salisbury Street. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we recommend leave to withdraw on this item, similar to the last. This is a repair that has been entered into the work order system and is queued up.
All right, in the works. Excellent. Thank you. Motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item 7E, Altagracia Abreu requests installation of a streetlight in front of 32 Stoneland Road. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our streetlight team went out and performed both a day and night survey of this location to make sure we kind of captured what was going on. We found during both that there was ample lighting in the area. To paint a picture of the configuration in the area, there's 8 streetlights on Stoneland Road. They're spaced about 150 feet apart, which is a standard interval. And in the vicinity of Stoneland, there are actually 2 lights rather close by on either side, so we didn't feel like this location warranted additional lighting.
So right now, what you're saying is that there's adequate lighting on the street as it stands?
Correct.
Okay. Gentlemen, any questions? Okay, motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
So ordered. Mr. Clerk, just to make sure I have this cleaned up properly, item C and D, were those taken collectively?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. I had that as collectively approved, both
Okay.
C and D.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right. So let me just read the item, and then we can bring forward who we need to bring forward. Item 8A, miscellaneous items. Order of Councilor George Russell, request Standing Committee on Public Works conduct a meeting with representatives from the utility companies servicing the city and the Commissioner of Public Works regarding damage done to the streets that are not repaired in a way to hold up over time. Item 8B, request Standing Committee on Public Works conduct a meeting with the Commissioner of Public Works to discuss what policy, if any, exists in writing which mandates any construction work completed by utility companies on city streets does not deteriorate. So with that, I don't know if you want, Commissioner, if you have any members that you'd like to sit up front here, or if you want to go one at a time, or how you'd like to address the issues in regards to our infrastructure here in Worcester. Actually, maybe the better way to do it is, maybe I should just shoot off a question and see where it takes us. All right, so to the Commissioner. Do the utilities have to confirm or get approval from the city prior to doing any work in the streets?
I defer to
Yep.
Mr.
Yes.
Mello.
So prior to doing any work in the street that is not an emergency, so if something, happens overnight or needs an immediate response, those things are addressed and then we permit them afterwards. But standard operating procedure for anything that's not an emergency is the utility companies or any other drain layer in the city that's going to open up the right-of-way, it has to work through the permitting process.
So let me ask this, is that taking place?
Yes, sir.
And to my committee members, just interrupt if you have anything you'd like to ask on yourself. Ask yourselves as well. Who dictates how and the method of which trenches are backfilled? What material they're backfilled with, and what the final finish on the roadway should comply with? What are the standards that we're working with here?
So the standards for which permit work is performed under are addressed in two documents that the DPW's had for some time now. They are the DPW permit standards and methods and the permit manual. It's worth noting that we're currently combining the two documents in one to make them more comprehensive and updating them. So they haven't been updated since I was in college or so. So we're going to get those up into the 21st century. But those are the two documents that cover those particular items. And then if you'd like me to pontificate on any of the specifics, I can go ahead and do that.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
I'd like to know what, I'm just gonna go off my experience in new construction when a new roadway's going in. And yes, I remember being backfilled with a sandy material, but I also recall too, back when it was a relatively young roadway, that it would have to be backfilled with flowable fill, just for compaction and a better product on the finish. Is that something we use? Is that something that National Grid or Eversource use in their methods?
So the methods for restoration that we prescribe for any individual permit are situational. So every permit receives different restoration requirements. All permits require restoration to the center line of the roadway, right? So right off the bat, you have to restore the center line of the roadway.
So what does that mean exactly?
So the center line of the roadway, if you were to picture a two-lane road, is the middle of the two yellow lines.
Yep.
Right, so what that makes it, the effective purpose of that is so that you don't have a trench right in the middle of the road, right? Your trench is kind of in the center of the road, and so is your seam, which is where the seam of the road is naturally, so you're not gonna open up a new area for failure. Additionally, it also improves ride, right? So your ride quality is better that.
Yep.
All roads must be restored permanently within 90 days of completion of their work. And the road must be restored in the fashion that is constructed. So if there's 8 inches of asphalt, 8 inches of asphalt are going back. In terms of base material, we use a sub-base. It's a gravelly type material. I could get really boring and go over the actual gradation of it, but it's a gravel sand type material that locks up pretty nice and provides a solid road base. We do have one individual who works closely with the restoration teams on the utility companies, and he both plans the large-scale restorations and goes out and inspects them. So we have seen that to be a fruitful addition to the team. We've seen our reinspection rates go down rather significantly.
We have somebody within our DPW who works with the utilities?
Correct. So the DPW has, or the engineering division has 4 unique teams that work under it. One of them is the permitting team. We have one individual on the permitting team whose primary role is trench restoration. That's what they do, is work with the utility companies to make sure patching and trenching is performed in accordance with city standards.
So if they're doing trench work on, we'll imagine a 2-lane street, double yellow lines, or the center line down the middle. If they're doing work on the right side of the street, that work is completed within 90 days, that 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 90 disturbed area is to be restored back to its original state?
Correct.
Just that trench, or to the center, from the curb to the center line, or just that trench?
If the trench, so, as a scenario, if you had a 4-foot trench and it went from the edge of the curb to 4 feet off, the utility company would also own the additional space to the center line.
Okay.
All
so-
drain layers.
So what if that trench is just down the middle of that lane, 2 feet off the curb, 2 feet off the center line?
They own from the center line to the curb.
Okay. So, let's get past the 90 days, because that's not being done. I've seen gas line work that has not gotten done in 90 days. I've seen the trench filled, but I haven't seen the roadway finished. It seems to me that it's a year later or longer before somebody comes back, and I'll tell you, I don't believe that they're grinding or doing the work from curb to center line. I have pictures here from Ararat Street, Beverly Road, that show that. So who is responsible to make sure that the work gets done the way it's supposed to get done?
So that is the responsibility of the permit division. With respect to those particular permits, if the work is ongoing, the trench will not have been restored in the fashion that I just spoke about. So you will see temporary restoration of the trench within its limits. And if that, the 90-day time period is from the completion of work associated with the permit, right? So the permit work can continue onwards, sometimes for an extended period of time. At current, we do not have something along the lines of a sequential permanent restoration process built into the permit, where we only would prescribe X number of feet to a utility company before it has to be restored. That is something we could look into and consider, but at this point in time, that's probably what's creating a lot of the scenario that you're encountering.
So theoretically, the permit could come in and say, okay, I'm just gonna pick my neighborhood where I live. Ararat Street, Holden Street, Brattle Street, we're gonna do all new gas line work here, and that will fall under one permit. That could fall under one permit, and the work could be wrapped up under one permit at a later date.
We attempt to permit things by the road in order to make the tracking of the restoration work easy, and all permitted work has to be completed within one season, unless there's an extenuating circumstance. So, it's not like you would go over multiple years without that trench being addressed. However, it may take, a decent portion of the construction season if work is ongoing.
Okay, so that's not happening either. So I'm just trying to get to the bottom of who's going to take responsibility for this work, right? Who is doing the work? There's work done, as we know, all over the city. Trenches are done. I've witnessed it myself, again, in my travels on a daily basis, as have others, where the trench is not backfilled. It's backfilled, it's patched, it's got its temporary, I'll call it a temporary patch. And then it could be a year or so before that is completed. Now, if you're telling me 90 days is the timeline, then something needs to change here, because 90 days is not happening, okay? I've witnessed it on Ararat Street, I've witnessed it on Brattle Street, I've witnessed it on Holden Street, okay? This is just in my neighborhood. I'm gonna speak of what I know, and I know that's taken place throughout the neighborhood. You had something you want to add? No. So I just want to get to the bottom of the process so we can hold the utilities to that process. If it's our process, we need to hold ourselves to the process. And I feel we're failing, okay? I have pictures here. These are from Beverly Road and Ararat Street. I believe I gave you have it, you have a copy. You can see the trenches are not done to the middle of the road on some of these. The trenches in some areas are done better than others. And with that comes the question, who's responsible for that trench? And how long is that is there any kind of warranty information that comes with these trenches? Because they're failing. They're failing. Ararat Street, I think, was done 3 years ago. Beverly Road, probably within the last 2 years, and they're failing. Okay, the trench is obviously visible. There's areas where it's gotten further depressed. You know, this is part of our problem here, and it's exacerbated by this work done by the utilities. And we need to get to the bottom of it and if we need to hold ourselves accountable, then we need to hold ourselves accountable. If we need to hold the utilities accountable, then yes, they need to be held accountable. So who is responsible for making sure these are done properly? Is there a chance that we can use flowable fill for backfill to give more stability to these trenches so they don't fail in a 2-3 year period? These are some of the questions I'd like answers to. And then some of them are done to the midway point of the street, the center line. Others are not.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject for a moment?
Please.
The examples that you bring up are evidence that what we have for policy are not being withheld, so we need to do a better job of understanding why. And if there are further repairs necessary by the utility companies, we will do that. And I would ask Mr. Mello, I know that our current warranty period for trenches is 2 years, correct?
Correct. So
We're
our,
looking to increase that to 5.
that is correct. So with the update of the permit manual, and you can see this item has been discussed a number of times.
Yes.
So actually, every one of these discussions has been in my tenure. And Councilor Russell, during his time in your position, had essentially instructed us to increase the warranty period to 5 years. So as our work on the update of the permit manual has progressed, that is one of the things that we included.
So when do we see that take place? When does that come to fruition?
So our objective is by the beginning of the fiscal year. We wanted to kind of tag it onto something realistic. To speak on some of these, the requirement to patch to the center line of the roadway did not come into place until sometime in 2024. So often what you'll see is these older patches do not meet that stipulation.
And Mr. Chairman, that was changed because we saw the fact that when utility companies, or even our own utilities, when we make patches to not the center of the road, it creates a rough riding surface and we don't get the benefit of a clean, new half of the roadway paved.
Well, I just feel that we're letting ourselves down. We're accepting inferior work. As you can see, this is 2 to 3 years old. I'll even go to Fairhaven Road, which is a disaster. If there's a representative here from Eversource, should be ashamed of the finished work that was left there, because that is just a nightmare, Fairhaven Road. And I know it's up for resurfacing, but you should be ashamed of the way you left the work there and how long it lasted. It did not last very long at all. And that's what I want to get to the bottom of. The taxpayers are paying their taxes. I feel these are basic services that we should be providing or looking after for the residents and the business owners here in the city. We have, unfortunately, we've been dealing with a tremendous amount of potholes this year, and this on top of it just exacerbates the problem. And I feel we need to hold ourselves accountable. I would like to see something come back, whether it's just to this committee or to the council, outlining the standards and methods to be used throughout the city for permitting process, the finishing process, the backfilling, the final finish, timelines, who's inspecting the work for us? Do we have enough people doing the work so we can get this done properly? And I want those inspectors to have the power to stop the job if that's the case, if the work is not being done properly. And I feel that's the only way the message is going to be heard. I'm all for the 5-year warranty period. And again, in that process too, I see some street cuts are done well, some are not done well. Some have the cut tarred, I don't know what do you guys call it?
Crack seal.
Crack sealed with sand, which seems to be better. In other areas, I can bring you down where it's barely a dribble of water over that crack. And as we all know, when you go through the freeze and thaw cycle here in New England, that's going to create problems. So I really want to work with you gentlemen, our team, and with the utilities to provide a better product for us here in our city. I feel what we have right now is inferior. People are telling us about that, and that's what I'd like to see change, and I look forward to that coming back to us. I don't know, are you saying during the budget session or after the budget session, we should have information back on this?
Through the chair, engineering can produce information as you're requesting by the next Public Works Committee, if that's what you're seeking. It's
you know, I'd
more that the
appreciate-
updates to the policy will take.
Well, I just want to make sure everybody's working off the same page. I want to better our process. That's what I want to do. That's all. I'm not here to lay blame at anybody's feet. I just want to make sure that we're following a process that we can stand up to ourselves and that we can have the utilities stand up to as well.
Yep. So you did hit part of the nail on the head there. So we process about 3,500 to 3,600 permits per year, and we have one restoration specialist.
Okay.
So that we are facing some challenges there. That restoration specialist was a position that we reassigned internally, and then a year later actually lost another position. So, there are some staffing challenges here. We try to do as best we can and try to hit the big fish, and unfortunately sometimes, just due to those challenges, things do.
So what needs to take place from your positions and from our positions too, in conversations with the city manager, with what needs to happen to change that? What needs to take place? Is this still a staffing issue? Is it people within the inside who have knowledge and are not brought forward to overlook this stuff? What needs to happen to make it happen?
Mr. Chairman, if you could give us the opportunity, I think that we can put together a good analysis of the number of permits, the number of inspectors we have, the number of restoration specialists we have, and a recommendation of what those numbers need to be to make sure that the city's getting the appropriate inspections and the appropriate work by the utility companies.
If you can do that, when do you feel you can have that back for us?
I can have that back to you by the next meeting.
Okay, excellent. So, Chairman's order to request DPW have their permitting process plan as to what their standards, what the methods should be used. If those are being done within the 90 days of completion or closeout of the permit for the final finish, will you have that 5-year warranty period as part of that report as well?
The 5-year warranty will require a ordinance change, so we can have the recommendation for that ordinance change prepared by then.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just interject too. So,
Yes, please.
That report itself will have to go to City Council first. I do see that the next City Council meeting that would include items from the city manager will be on April 14th. So if that report is on that City Council agenda, it can get referred into Public Works. And we could perhaps maybe use a second chairman's order to request a draft ordinance for that 5-year warranty period. And that way we could review that in committee as well before making a recommendation back to full council.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that work for you guys, April 14th?
I defer to Mr. Mello, who's going to put that together. We've got A couple of others, so
Yep.
the next one would be the 28th, is that?
Yeah, my only question is the timeframe associated with submitting reports from our department up to the managers. I know there's a bit of a timeline associated
I'll
with
give
that,
it to the
so
28th, how's that?
I think that works
Does that
brilliantly.
work? You know, I want to make sure it gets done properly.
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, do you
Yes.
also want that to include an evaluation of the number of permits and the necessary staffing?
Yeah, without question.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
thank
that's
you.
part of the whole equation. You know, it's all part of the equation. How do we do better for us? You know, and so just on the streets now that have, in the two examples I've shown you on Beverly Road and Ararat Street, who is responsible for this work now? Is it on our shoulders as a municipality now to deal with the deficiencies here?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not familiar with these, but I think that with engineering, we can go and look to see who did the work, when it was completed, does it still fall within the warranty period, what inspection reports we might have for those. I'm looking at Ararat and Beverly, and thank you very much for the evidential pictures here. But I think it would take us looking at them to see who did the work, when.
Would those be possible for the 28th too?
Definitely.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes.
Counselor?
Mr. Chair, through you to Assistant Commissioner, Mr. Chair, I would say that you have really done a good analysis of and presented what we need to have in our hands. Now, I'm really at an awe that we don't have a system to follow. I mean, we don't know that who is responsible to check this. We don't know that we have a deficiency of shortage of people, or we don't have who's going to be responsible to fix this. I think we're doing this work for the city. I think we should have the system in place. I don't think the Mr. Chair has to ask all these things for you to present. I think it should have been there. I'm kind of a little bit of a surprised that we're a city, second largest city in this Commonwealth. We take a lot of pride in saying what we are, and we should have a program in every segment which has a protocol that is valid, that is standardized, and followed. So I think I won't go into the details that I think Mr. Chair has done a great job in asking you to present a report to us, and we'll look forward to that, but I think it should have been there. That's my only say. And I hope that we really put it together as soon as possible, but I think he has given you enough time, so we have really covered everything that needs to be there for us to really take care of this work done, and if it's not holding it for the time period, it should be held. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd be remiss if I didn't echo a lot of what you said. I won't repeat it, but this is one of the biggest issues that come up to me when I meet constituents. They are adamant about the street repair when utility companies come in and open the road up. So, you know, they want better and they deserve better. We deserve better. So I'll leave it there, and I look forward to the report back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. If I can add one more thing to that report too, I'd be curious to know how many are emergency related and how many are just general permitted related. And again, I'm not laying blame. I'm just trying to find we need a better way to do business here. And I just think with so much work going on around the city right now, it's even more important that we follow a process and hold ourselves accountable and hold the utilities accountable too. Because I can point out many spots too where I know the city has done work too that there's failing patchwork too. And it's important that we all follow the same process. And that's where I'm trying to get to with this, so.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
Commissioner.
think that what you'll find in the report is that we do have a process, we do have a system. It's a matter of capacity, and that's something that we need to work on, and we'll provide that information to you.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the utilities being here with us today too, just so they can hear it directly from us. What we're hearing from our constituents here in the city, it's a problem, And hopefully, before we even make any changes, that you guys will take this information back to your crews and start implementing the changes, because if it comes back here, I can tell you right now, if I can make this any tighter in any manner, that's what I'm going to do, because that's what we deserve. So again, thank you all for being here with us. Is there anything you would like to add to the conversation? No? Just your name?
Sure.
Representative, and where do you live?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mike Kane from 11 Linnean Drive in Holyoke, Massachusetts. Community Relations from Eversource. I'm joined with our restoration specialist, our manager of construction, manager of restoration, manager of construction, manager of operations. They hear you. They hear everything. And clearly the commissioners are on the phone with us all the time, checking in on projects that they hear on, that there's trench work that needs to be fixed. We've got these streets that you were just saying there, Errett, Beverly, Fairhaven. We're catching those. You get those messages to the commissioner, send it to us. We're going to go back out there and fix it. Dave just already told me from restoration, he'll get out there and fix that.
But that's what I don't want to do,
Yeah,
right? I don't,
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
so that's what I'm trying to get to the point where we're not fielding those calls, calling these gentlemen who have plenty of work on their plates to do, as do you guys, you know,
They're not afraid to call.
no, I know they're not afraid to call, but I want to get to a point where we can all work better together to get you guys got to do your job. I respect that, I appreciate that, but we also need to have our roads in a manner when they're completed that we can travel.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you coming in and presenting yourself here at the microphone.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, just your name and,
Likewise, Mr. Chairman, my name is Bobby Yanni. I'm a lifelong resident of Worcester. I represent National Grid. I've got a couple managers here with me as well, 284 Webster Street, Worcester, Mass. We also hear the message, and me being a resident of the city, I take it personal myself. It's a duty to make sure when we do work, we're restoring the roads the way they're supposed to be restored. So we hear you loud and clear, and we know from a relationship perspective, it's very important that we carry out our duties. And so we make sure that we do that. We're going to work with the DPW to make sure any changes that you guys want implemented will be implemented.
well, thank you for being here. And I want to thank you, too. I know you helped some constituents with a question,
Yep.
I think it was last week. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your input on that. Counselor.
Mr. Through you to you're from, is it from
National Grid.
National Grid, and you came from Eversource?
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for saying that you heard us. You know, I think you said that you are all from Worcester. You're from Worcester. We're all from Worcester, and we're all working to see that our city is safe, our city is affordable, enjoyable for all the residents who are here. And we don't want to hear from them that the city is going down. That's the kind of comment we hear when we are all trying to make this city a city which really reflects what we are, and be proud of what we are. Be proud of our work, be proud of what we do, and make sure that our residents are happy and call us and say, you're doing a great job. We don't hear that, but I think we're all together in it. You, us, commissioners, I think let's see that our focus is Worcester. Let's make it a great city. That's all I would say. Thank you.
Agreed with you 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to make this public. My good friend and former colleague, Mike Kane, and I served in the House of Representatives together. He's a good man, and I believe him when he says he'll work on that and correct things. But one other thing I'd like to bring up, I know it's not in front of us right now, but I'd be remiss to let you fellas go back without talking about a big issue. We're trying to build as many apartments and homes here in Worcester to supply our need. And a lot of them are waiting for utilities to be turned on. That is a huge issue with many people that are building, again, apartments or homes here, and they're waiting sometimes months. They're told 6 months before they'll might have a chance of getting the power turned on. These are apartments that are ready to go. They're townhouses that are ready to be sold. They have purchase and sale. They have buyers for these homes and these units, and they're not turning over. And I'd like somebody to explain to us, one, why is that the fact, and two, how can it improve? Please.
I think every single instance is a different one, but there are varying issues that do happen. Sometimes it's a timeline issue. Sometimes when issues come back to us and we reach out and we try to find out more information, sometimes we find out that we didn't get enough information. So when we dive into these issues and we figure out what they are, they don't solely lie with the utility sometimes. Sometimes when we do a little bit more work, we find out that there was some information that wasn't turned over. But every time we find out that it's an instance where National Grid is making a mistake, we frown on those, because obviously from a relationship perspective, we want to make sure we're doing the best work possible. We owe it to the constituents. We actually owe it to ourselves as well. And so we're just trying to make sure we're doing the best we can, and in concert with the DPW, I think we can do a lot of those things. So anytime you have an issue, please reach out. As the chairman has stated earlier, there was an issue that came to me, I think, a few days ago. We jumped on that. We tried to find out what's going on. So we'll do our best to make sure that every individual case is proofread and followed through to the bottom and found out what the issue is. So anytime you have an issue, you can just reach out to me. I'm from the corporate affairs team, and we will investigate every incident you bring forth. We also have monthly meetings with Peter Dunn, just to kind of make sure that those jobs are progressing. These are things that we've done because we've heard, some of the issues in the city, and we're trying to do our best to make sure that we clean some of that stuff up. So every single time you have an incident, you can reach out to me myself. I'll give you my information before I leave. You can reach out to Peter. We'll find out what's going on and make sure we address the issue and detail the steps that need to be taken in order for power to be restored.
Well, I couldn't, through you, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I couldn't thank you enough for that. If that's going to be the case, I really appreciate it, because I have been the middleman in many cases, going down to DPW, talking to those representatives of our staff that work with the utilities, and find out that they're waiting for a response from you, and vice versa. You come back and you need more information. So I get that. I've been there and I've heard that side of it too. So we need, to our staff here, Commissioner, Assistant Commissioner, please, I would ask you to maybe inform the staff to let's see if we can pick it up a bit, because I've been involved in many instances. When I say many, in the last year, probably 3 or 4 different builders, and one is here today that has 45 units in a old factory building that he's restoring. He's waiting for power. So I'll be glad to speak to you about that, and I appreciate that. And again, we are told we need housing here in the city. We have units ready to go, and they're waiting for utilities. So I look forward to that being the case, and let's go forth and turn the page and work well together. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Not a
you.
problem.
If-
Thank you.
If I may suggest too, I don't know if the gentleman's behind you, is that the gentleman behind
Yes,
you?
yeah.
If you take a moment, speak with him, and maybe the two of you can converse and come to some type of an agreement,
Sure
or
can.
at least get on the same page.
Not a problem at all. I will do that before I leave. And just to say, Jay's fantastic. We've been getting acquainted, I think, the last year since I've taken this position. We've done a lot in terms of making sure we're communicating better. I think that was an issue before that's no longer an issue. in
Well,
terms of
I appreciate that. I
So-
appreciate it from our team
Yep.
and from you guys as well. And like I said, I do appreciate you being here today. I'm glad you were able to hear what we're hearing in an effort to make changes going forward. So thank you. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you.
Chairman, just one more.
Yes, Counselor.
Just one more example of how National Grid did come through for us, but it took me to get involved in it. And it was a single, a real estate person that wanted to build on a lot that she had bought, female, that she had bought, put 3 units up, and she's paying the note every month on it, and she's told it'll be 6 months. And that's when, I did reach out to someone I knew at National Grid, and they got back to us. And in this instance, they found some type of pole that was in the budding yard or whatever, and they were able to hook up her power toward that. I mean, I'm not, subject to all the ins and outs of how they did it. But my point is, that helped her, she was financially going, broke on it. So this is the instances that we, occur, and I appreciate it. I just wanted to mention that as well, because I know she was very happy when National Grid did find a solution and not having to wait that long, because obviously she would have, been lapsed on the payment. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there are instances where, as I stated before, when you dig into the details and I come back and I go to the design team, there are ways that they can try to make things work. We work with the DPW on that. Sometimes the First Avenue might not work, sometimes the Second Avenue will, but we make sure we explore all those options and get to the right interpretation. So anytime you guys need anything, just reach out.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming in today. Anything else, gentlemen, commissioners? Well, thank you too for being here today. Thank you for your answers. I look forward to that report in April. Hopefully we can move the bar on this. I want to give thanks to the former Councilor George Russell too for bringing that forward too, to upping the timeline for the warranty period. I think if they were able to get that in place, I think that's to our benefit. And hearing nothing else, motion would be to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, prior to doing so,
Yes, sir.
action on items 8A and 8B. Would it be your preference to hold them, and then just in case you want to bring this back to a
Yeah.
future meeting?
Motion would be to hold 8A and 8B. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Motion would be to adjourn.